Hey, and welcome back to the next episode of the Right Hand Drive Guys podcast, the podcast for guys who like right hand drives. I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
Yo.
And here we are, back again. And, we're like, the interviews are going good. We had some people lined up. Obviously, Libet last week. That was cool. First female.
Yeah.
People seem to enjoy her episode. So, we're like, and then before that, UP Garage.
Yep.
And that was cool getting like a shop's perspective on everything. And we had already had this one lined up prior. And finally, everything came together. And this week we have Andrew Molina from Animal Auto. And
Nice.
Animal Auto is a shop out in California. A few of our friends have used. And one of the shops actually on our list of where to get your Skyline worked on.
Oh, yeah, I did remember.
Yeah, so finally we got them on episode 124, and I'm excited to see what they have to say. And this is Animal Auto. And we're back with Andrew from Animal Auto. What's up, Andrew?
What's going on, Bobby? What's going on, Aaron? Thanks for having me, man. It's an honor.
Yeah, absolutely. And this has been a little while coming. Jay told me, Jay.
I do.
Yeah,
I
he
do.
told me, he said,
Jay,
you have
Jesse,
to
all
get
those
them
guys.
on there. Like they were for sure super big advocates of Animal Auto, and they had to make
Nice.
sure that I got you on here. So here we are, man. So, him and I obviously know a little bit about Animal Auto. Can you just tell the listeners like where you're at, like, what you guys do, and a little bit about yourself?
Of course. So Animal Auto was established in 2011. We have our roots in drifting, but we quickly switched to, GTRs and the street car scene, if you will. Our emphasis is the R chassis, but our bread and butter is tuning per se. So our specialty is tuning and wiring. But we do offer, engine building and all other sorts to make high power. But we're a small shop, small operation with just 3 guys under the roof and passionate guys, to say the least. So we're always looking to improve our craft. Our builds this year are better than last year, and I'm only imagining what they're going to look next year. So only human, but we're here to do the best job we possibly could. And I'm thankful for everyone that's actually supported us along the way. Our reputation is something that you can't pay for. You know what I mean? Like, it's been years grinding out and just doing solids as best as you can.
Yeah, reputation is huge, especially in an industry like, we're participating in. It only takes your reputation getting broken to bankrupt a business, for sure.
I mean, communication is key. Like with clients nowadays, when you drop your baby off at a shop and it's, like you drop your kid off at daycare, you want to know what's going on. You know what I mean? You want to at least check in here and there and, be involved with your build. Maybe ask, hey, how do you feel about this color? Or what do you want to go with this hose? And of course, we have our combo and our recipe and the package that we like to offer. But being flexible with the customer, hearing what they have to say, what they want to do, their aspirations, that goes a long way. But yeah, it's all about meeting their needs and seeing what we can do to actually make that happen.
And so I mean,
budget's a build one.
I'd agree, and that was something we heard recently, from UP Garage and a few other guys, was that communication and that trust that you form through the business relationship is huge, especially for somebody that maybe isn't right down the road from the shop, that is watching from afar, so to speak.
I mean, yeah, and then like just being a consumer, like think about it as you're paying this shop to do work on your car, right? Like everyone could check your pricing online. So be realistic with what you're, don't upsell guys with parts of your resale that you could easily buy from, the web store. So that goes a long way too, not upselling, parts that you're reselling. You should have good relationship with vendors and make your percentage that way. But that comes with the cost. You have to be registered with the state, pay your taxes, and do it the right way. But yeah, that's what I found to kind of be the most profitable way. Just go about it in a professional manner.
Yeah. So I heard you say that tuning is quite your bread and butter. And on that note, like you tune, it seems like everything. I scrolled through your Instagram. You have turbo LSs, K swaps,
Yeah.
SRs, RBs, like. You do them all, it seems like.
So I've been blessed. I got hired at Haltech about 6 years ago, right? So I work at Haltech full time, but I also have Animal Auto as my side business. Raul and Sergio over there at the shop, they take care of the builds. And I go in and make sure that, there's the toilet paper in the bathroom, and I make sure that, we're keeping cars coming in and out. So tuning is a thing that I definitely would consider my specialty and my strength. Of course, my factory back training here at Haltech and Race Winning Brands is huge. I'm rubbing shoulders with some big brain guys. So, we share information and methods on how to do things. But with that being said, yes, I do work at Haltech, and I fly a Haltech flag pretty high, but we're pretty flexible. We do Link, Haltech, Motec, AAM, Holly, and all that, and multiple different platforms. So a tuner's strength shouldn't be in just one platform. An engine's an air pump, right? There's trends that you should follow and kind of stay within guidelines. I'm also blessed that I have a Dynapack, right? So it's a loaded dyno. We don't just send it to the moon. We do steady state and 2/3 of the RPM band, feel her out. I like to call it, I poke it with a stick, right? Seeing what she wants. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and, add some boost. We're going to go ahead and maybe introduce a little bit of timing and actually do a sweep. But loaded dynos, taking it step by step, making sure that the, 2/3 of the power band is in check. Then from there, you go ahead and give her the beans. So,
yeah. So,
but yeah, I do.
Yep, go ahead.
So yeah, but I do a lot of platforms. Reason being is LSs are super popular out here, man. LSs are taking over the scene like crazy. Just the gobs of power they make easily. JZs are around, RBs are everywhere, but the biggest hitter I think is the K. K series are fun. They keep me on my toes. You have variable cam timing. You have a variable lift, and mostly drive-by-wire. So it's what you want to deal with. Next to DI and all the other stuff that you see with all the late model stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because, direct injection seems to complicate, a simple system, it seems like. Or can be at least. So also speaking on that, do you think, does each separate motor, have its own, thing it likes to see, whether it's timing or fuel? Does each engine speak its own language, or, is it all pretty much universal and you're just looking at numbers?
So there's trends, right? Based off of, say for ignition, for example, right? If the cylinder is ginormous, it's going to want to take more timing than a cylinder that was smaller. So also the fuel type, the compression ratio, and the aspiration. If it's naturally aspirated and low compression, it's going to, probably going to want to take a decent amount of timing. But if it's high compression, on some pump 91 octane, you're going to probably want to be mindful of the of what ignition you're putting into it, and also maybe you're reading your spark plugs and looking at your NOx sensors and make sure that that's all copacetic before you really lean on it. But as far as there's no blanket tune or no blanket setting for engines, but there are trends. If it's a rotor, you're going to do your tables a certain way. If it's fuel tuning, right? GTRs, that they're ITBs, I don't have a map sensor reference, so I'm going to tune that over TPS for my fuel table. But of course, you still need a map sensor to account for density and in air temperature for that calculation. So, but if it's an RB25 and I have a single throttle, or even a 26 and I change the manifold to a single throttle, and I have a good vacuum source, I'm going to probably use that as my load reference for my fuel table. So my tuning method is based off of the package and the engine, what I have per se. So I may change it up for an RB26 based off the manifold, right? So
makes sense.
Loaded question.
Yeah, he got you there. So when, obviously you've had, I'm sure hundreds of guys come in over the years with their cars. And when somebody brings in a car, what is the most common mistake you see when they bring it in to get tuned, where a lot, you have to send them home, maybe they could, you know what I'm saying? Great question. I try not to send them home because we're going to work it out as much as we can. There's some things that are just that's not happening in a day, right? One of those examples may possibly be a ginormous boost leak, right? Or, I think of another one right off the bat, or just something mechanically wrong, like the cam timing being a tooth out, right? We'll have to come back on that. Depending on the engine, some engines you could just do right then and there on the dyno. The biggest problems I see when people come in to get dyno tuned right off the bat is spark plug gap, coming in with bad fuel, loose couplers, stuff like that. What I like to do is I like to introduce artificial air into the turbo with a compressor and a plug. And we're going to put around 10 to 15 pounds in the charge system and look for some boost leaks before we actually chase our tail, try to make power on the dyno and overspinning the turbo for nothing. So I would say, that spark plugs, fuel, and the common leaks and
loose couplers.
Yeah, save your tuner some time, guys, and get these things taken care of prior so that you have a real efficient dyno experience for sure.
Yeah, because that can turn into a headache real quick, huh?
Especially, spark plug gap sucks, especially when you're ready to go and you have to take the plugs out on a LS with manifolds right there. So
yeah, that's a pain.
Some engines are easy, some are a pain. Yeah.
So winding it back a little bit, when you started in 2011, what was like Animal Auto's specialty? Like what? Obviously, it's GTRs now, but what were you doing back then that led you to this point? I know you mentioned drift.
Yeah, 2011 was interesting. I was like 23 years old, 24 years old, not so much in a business mindset. I was chasing the track and trying to drive as much as I possibly could. Me and Ryan Literal actually started this place a long time ago, and we were just building our cars out of the shop and working on cars on the side just to keep the lights on and get a few bucks to go to Adams or Willow Springs for the weekend and drift. But it was cool times. We actually lived in the shop, so we had like a 5,000 square foot shop with like multiple different rooms in it and its own backyard. So we had more space than what we knew what to do with it, to be honest with you. I wish I had that space now. But we run efficiently. I actually, Animal Auto is actually a pretty small shop compared to like what you guys have there. It's actually taught us a lot. It's taught us a lot of just to be efficient, right? Like in and out, you're focused on one or two jobs at once and you don't get cluttered. It's helped a lot with the turnover, just because you're focusing on one. We have Sergio that does the fabrication. We have Raul that does all the mechanical. And then I'm going to come through and do the electrical and the tuning and ordering, make sure they have parts on hand. That's the biggest thing to get your car out fast. Have stock. Order the stuff that you're going to use, right? You're going to use this fuel rail. You're going to use this set of injectors. Have a few sizes. You're going to use a couple different turbo kits. Have them on hand, and that'll pay you back in full as a shop owner, because the quicker you get a car out, the quicker you're going to get paid.
True. Yeah, and the happier the customer is, 9 times out of 10.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
That makes sense. Where if you did have a huge shop, things can there's room for things to sit around. There's room for things to get put off, so to speak. But when you don't have the space, you got to keep it moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're in Orange County, like Inland Empire, so it's the rent up here is pretty hefty, to be honest.
Imagine.
So like anywhere, to be honest, things aren't getting easier, But with that being said, yeah, you could take off more than you could bite off more than you could chew, and I'm happy with the space that we're at for now. I am trying to expand up and get some more help here, but for the guys that we have, the man hours that we put in, not burning out the guys over there working 10 hours a day. So yeah, they're good. And we're all passionate. We all have cars. Raul has his E33 Nismo. Sergio has a A-series Tacoma that's pretty rad, R34 and S14. Yeah, I personally have an R34 GTT and a Corolla that I dabble with. But so we all have our side projects,
Real car guys.
As we get older, we have kids and all our focus goes elsewhere. But yeah, cars will always be a part of us.
So now you're into the GTRs and these JDM cars. So have you seen a change in clientele since these cars started becoming legal? Let's just say since the 32 GTR became federally legal. Have you kind of seen a change in clientele because they're more expensive, they're more sought after as collector car type thing?
Yeah. It's hard to profile a GTR owner, to be completely honest. It's pretty dynamic. I can't really say that they've changed or it's a different clientele. I would say that there's more of them, and a lot of people are less hesitant to actually get them due to the fact that you don't have to wait on them. You're not sending someone money overseas and praying that you get this car that you saw online.
Yeah.
So I would say no. I think you get a little bit more of the impulsive guys and maybe a little bit less actual car guy. But nonetheless, I mean, everyone knows what a GTR is, from Fast and Furious and pop culture. So
yeah,
at least they got that in them. They're not just buying a known car. I think I like the way this car looks. No, they know what they're getting themselves into. But I think it's funny when people actually get the bill for say they need an engine rebuild or their core is bad and they need a whole nother engine. It's a bummer, but Skylines are one of the more expensive cars to actually repair due to the scarcity of parts. So the scarcity of blocks and heads, cranks, it sucks. Of course, there's aftermarket options out there, and that's actually getting stronger, by the day, thankfully. But the aftermarket scene is strong for the GTR scene, and that's another reason to embrace that car too. It's there's a ton of support out there.
Yeah, and I mean you're for sure right just about like once they became legal there was a lot more hype, and maybe not the guys that had wanted them since they were 12 or 13.
Right.
Maybe it's guys that of course had seen them in the Fast and the Furious and hey, they got some disposable income, why not try this car out? But on the note of these parts for these cars, yeah, it is wild. That's not something I necessarily expected when I bought my 34 GTR. I'm like, I'll be good. There's some parts, and then everybody bought 34 GTRs, and the parts started disappearing. And just a front lip that I messed up on the car was almost $1,000. Just how it is, and it was a real quick wake up call. Like, oh, okay, yeah, don't be scraping that lip no more, dude. Like, you can't afford this. Yeah,
it hurts every time you hear that scraping sound, right? It sounds that's expensive.
A little bit. Yeah. So I also had another question about the tuning and engine building parts of things. There's always tons of myths out there. Like there's always tons of myths going around. One I've heard recently is, if an engine makes too much boost at too low or too much torque due to the turbo making too much boost too low, that it can knock the rod bearings out of the engine. That's kind of a myth I've seen a lot lately. What is your take on that? And also, what is a myth that you've heard a bunch that you want to set straight?
I really like that question. That's actually a really good one. As far as the torque coming on too soon, yes, that actually kind of is true. So it's to say what came first, the chicken or the egg. Like when the engine blows up, was it because the torque came on too soon, or was it because some other factor, right? But that is true. And if you do get a wide journal engine on it to disperse the load a little bit better, you would see your bearing last a little longer, and they're not going to flatten out. If you see an engine that's gone through severe detonation, you will see damage on the bearings as well, surprisingly, on the bottom half of it, because it's pushing down against that on that thrust. So I think it's true. I really think it's true that you probably should want to ease up on the boost coming in so hard, especially if it's, a stock block with not a lot of work done to the bottom end of things. So as far as other myths go, I want to see how good your editing is, so we could probably bring this in later on, because I'll think of it mid-conversation, like, oh, you know what, that pisses me off. Right now, it's not coming to head. There definitely would be some.
So out here we don't really have emissions, right? I mean, we have like a safety inspection, but our whole lives we've heard pretty much how hard it is in California, of course, your CARB and, the strict laws against modifications. So you kind of grew up in that, which it's normal for you to be fighting the man, in the sense of like, hey, this is my car. I want to do what I want.
Right.
What's it been like, trying to navigate these different laws and CARB, and even, having guys, probably a lot of your customers aren't even registered in California.
Yeah, I'm not gonna speak on all that until what they're doing, but yeah, they're definitely a lot of them aren't registered in California. They're going to be out of state, and I would say that like separates a real car guy from just say the street guy, right? Like I own a truck and trailer. I have an enclosed truck and trailer is my car registered and can I drive on the street? Yes. Do I? No. I just take it to the track, right? Or not really doing much on the street to actually catch the attention of the cops. But if I've been pretty fortunate. When the cops pull you over in a nice car out here in Southern California, if you're not doing anything egregious, they're gonna actually just want to take a look at it and talk about it. Cool. For the most part. It's actually it could suck, but yeah, it's cops are cool, man. Just stop and pop the hood. I probably wouldn't pop the hood actually, but if he's into the car, and he's not gonna trying to give you a hard time. Yeah, just be cool with them. But I've heard horror stories, man. I can't tell you what to do out there as far as what California laws go. I personally don't. I drive a brand new Tundra, and my wife has a Mark II that we drive every day. I don't really dabble with race cars on the street too much. Just I'm older now, to be honest with you. I like creature comforts like air conditioning and heated seats.
Yeah, I think a
But
lot of us at this age are kind of in that, like the cars get driven less. We got dailies that are comfortable because we're putting miles on them. I think that's pretty common.
But I feel for the guy though that made his enthusiast car his everyday vehicle, right? Because he's going through it. He's always running the risk of being pulled over for his exhaust, or always just being popped for his car looking like it's modified, right? So, and these guys go through extreme measures to actually get their car registered in the state of California. They're paying some backyard guy to smog it, or they're doing, something to get that going until they're actually refed. But, all that stuff just is a turn off, to do it on the street. So that's why a lot of guys go the out of state route. That's also another, big hoop to jump through. But
right. It's one of the not perks of having these type of cars. Like people always talk about how great it is, which it is, but even here, our state is just confused on what these cars are. So it's really luck of the draw when we go to our town office to register whether they're gonna just give us plates or if it's gonna be this big thing or they just turn us away. So these cars are amazing, but there are hiccups with them that you have to deal with.
I'm all for it. Like I have kids. I'm not trying to like ruin the environment for generations to come. So I'm all about doing things clean and within reason. But it just takes a couple bad eggs to ruin it for everyone else, like rolling coal or something like that, and then it puts a bad name on the whole industry. That's
for sure. That's a whole different thing, right? I mean,
just even being obnoxious too with your with your manners in public with your car. Just two-stepping in the parking lot is kind of annoying, right? Verbal tunes is annoying. Oh, you want to talk about things that annoy me? That annoys me. I'm sure that annoys a lot of people, but but misconception does. Still not a misconception, but that does annoy me. Misconceptions.
So okay, so you've tuned a bunch of cars, and what we want to know is if you could pick one car to tune for the rest of your life, you can only sit in the seat of this car. What's it going to be?
Ooh. It's funny, actually, it's fresh on my brain because I was on it last night, but I would say Mike Burrows' K-Series Ferrari.
Oh, wow.
When I first did it, it had a rowdy cylinder head on it with, locked VTEC, so it sounded pissed off at idle, and it wanted to rev to the moon, right? This new setup that we did last night is sequentially shifted with air. So we got all that dialed in now, and it's running a VTEC setup and a more moderate cylinder head because it's going to be going for a road race. But I like doing K series. As much as I'm an RB guy at heart, and I love doing LSs. I would say that K series Ferrari is what I'd like to do, just because it's always kept me on my toes. It's the latest tech. It's got the best parts in it. It's fun. But if you also give me just a good LS3, LS7, I'm there. Those are the easy. I could do those with my eyes closed in 30 minutes. Wow. So those are fast.
Yeah, and with the Ferrari, that kind of shows the passion because where you said it keeps you on your toes, like, of course you could just prefer the thing that, you roll in and roll out and just like make your dollars on, but it shows your true passion that you would rather work on something that's challenging as opposed to a breeze,
I would say another close first place for me is just a good VCAM R34. You know what I mean? Just anything with the VCAM, really. RB with the VCAM is fun, especially when you get into the advanced triggers, like with an HKS setup, right? Like I like to just not use a cam sensor, use my VCAM as my home pickup, and use the crankshaft for just the the RPM reading. So there's a lot of people that struggle to kind of get the ECU to work like a JZ VVTi because we have 36 -2 on the bottom, 3 teeth on the cam, and in the ECU's eyes, it looks like a 2 JZ VVTi as far as the trigger pattern goes. But that's just that; it's just a trigger pattern. The rest is ones and zeros and a couple settings.
Yeah, and the average person would think it's much more than that. Even if you go to the shop, you see the guy tuning your car and you see the graphs and all the colors and you're just like, oh wow, what the heck is going on here? This dude works for NASA.
A lot of people think, tuning is a black art. Like, it's like, oh my God, I'll never learn this. And I thought the same thing at one point, right? And you just have to do it, make mistakes, and learn. I've actually been pretty fortunate to never really heard anything too gnarly. I mean, I've had a turbo blow on me, of course. Who hasn't?
Yeah.
But and I've had rods let go, but it wouldn't necessarily be because I hit the button too hard. I attended EFI University a long time ago too, and that kind of gave me a lot of confidence in my tuning career per se. It's a seminar in Lake Havasu.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually have a dyno there. You go and do 2-day seminar, and you get your ones and twos dialed in. So you cut your teeth there. And I did it right. I worked for Garage Bozo when I was fresh out of high school. Actually, Garage Bozo was a shop. Yeah, it was pretty cool. This is like my first time actually working FD. Professional driver Ross Petty, probably one of the coolest guys I ever meet, and Frank. Well, they were the owners, right? I worked for them for till they closed down, and that was a Dynapack shop, and we only did JDM cars. So that kind of opened my eyes to the business model and what it could be. And don't get me wrong, we're not here to get rich or nothing like that and be a Fortune 500 company, but we do some rad stuff. And like I said, it's I don't feel like I work a day when I'm actually there. It's fun. But
wow, man, you said Garage Bozo, and instantly popped in my head was this Rasta S15. That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
That was one of the coolest cars in FD back in the day. I remember that.
That's when back. FD was fun. FD was cool, man. Like I've been around it for a while, but when they went, Animal Auto kind of got started by force. I was building cars out of my parents' garage, and like, you need to get out, get a place, and do your thing. So, and that's that. Ever since then, I've been here.
And so while we're talking about Animal, the company, in your humble opinion, of course, what would you say separates Animal from all the other shops that, anyone can go to in that area?
Gotcha. Yeah. So what separates Animal from my competitors would be the fact that I have the most experience with engine management systems in a whole, right? Yes, I'm the more versed with Haltech, but because I know how ECUs communicate with an engine, right, I could apply that knowledge to a Link, to a Motec, to a Haltech, or whatever the platform is really. So I would say that we have that under our belt, that we have the most efficient way on getting an engine management system working on your setup without wasting money, without maybe buying an analog setup that would be communicating with your ECU when it should be done digitally or over CAN. So I would say that we have an advantage over it. And then just the personalized touch. We're a small shop. You have my personal cell phone number. If you want to change something up, or you feel like you want to try something experimental with a valve cover cutting or whatever, we're here for you.
That's sweet. Like it's just, your expertise really brings it to another level, because maybe another guy went to EFI, but probably another guy didn't help develop Haltech or whatever the case may be.
There's a lot of, I can't account for a lot that Haltech does over there. The engineers in Australia are like brainiacs. We call them nerds, actually. That's generally what they are. They're computer science engineers, and they're just brains. And they're car guys. Like Haltech has been around since 1985. It's
wow.
It's one of the older ECU companies out there, and one of the top tiers. Our target market is going to be like the street, pro street, guy. Then you have different levels of ECUs that go from more like professional racing. But I guess like you say, that's the big mix. All right, back to the misconception, right? Mm-hmm. A big misconception that gets me is that like the better the ECU, the better the tuner or whatever. No, you just get more features and more flexibility, right? So if you're gonna put a Motec on, say, like an older 1990s Japanese car, there's really no need. There's no CAN bus in it. There's not any feature that you couldn't do with, say, like a Sportsman ECU, like a Link or an AAM or whatnot. So I would say when guys go to the bottom of the catalog and think that, the most expensive stuff is going to get me the best results, that's necessarily not true. It's going to get you more features and more functionality out of the ECU.
And stuff you might not even be using.
Right.
Exactly. Do you have 2 digital throttle bodies? I don't think so, right? Like, are you running 19 injectors? You're not. So let's just go ahead and downsize the ECU. Yeah, and run it.
Save your money and put it somewhere else.
We have a box that can do that.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's all specific. Yeah, so say you're running a V8 that you're running methanol, and you need 2 stages of injection. So you're not running just one hog of an injector. We have a box for that. So
Oh, that's cool to get a little insight on ECUs for sure, because I do feel like that's a portion of this that is often overlooked. You know, a lot of guys will just go with, like you said, maybe what's most popular, not so much, you know, what their actual project needs. They're just going with what the homie said was the best stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe I could give you this little bit of information from Haltech, right? Because I actually asked, but I can't divulge what's coming on in the future. But the Skyline guys are going to be pretty stoked with what we have to offer in the near future.
Wow,
So
that's cool.
there's going to be something cool.
Always love when new stuff's coming out, even this long after these cars have been here or even, you know, on the market. So that's cool.
Yeah, I'll say that's one good thing about the ECU market for installers like a shop like mine, right? Like the plug and play kits, for example, you know, they're already mated for this connector. The ECUs will have a good breakout to add auxiliary harness, auxiliary sensors, right? So we can easily add fuel pressure, oil pressure, flex, you know, an external map sensor. And then CAN devices, keypads, thermocouplers, PDMs, all this stuff made our lives easy. You know, we don't wire in relays anymore. We use PDMs.
That's cool. And that, again, gets that car in and out quicker. So then the customer's happy and you can get the next one in and keep the cycle going.
Well, yeah, there's a ton of reasons to use, like, say, like, for example, a PDM over, like, the conventional relay setup, right? Like, I could see if we're going to have problems with this fuel system based off of the amperage draw. If, you know, historically, this car pulls 15 amps of draw, right? But all of a sudden now it's pulling 25. There's most likely a clogged filter, a pinched line, you know. Something's wrong in the fuel system. So a PDM will allow you to see that because you're actually seeing amperage draw, you know, and we're dictating, hey, this wire give out 10 amps, right? And log it, you know, hey, this wire give out 12 volts now, you know, its water temp is at 180 or whatever. So it makes it easy because before we'd have to wire relays. We had to wire in a relay for anything and everything, right? You know, a relay is just a gateway. So we have to, you know, use an output from an ECU, which is a physical wire, and you only have a finite amount of outputs and inputs on an ECU. So, you know, not having to do that is huge too. So you could always leave the wiring for the actual sensors and bells and whistles and leave the CAN devices to do their job.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you talked about K-Series a couple times. I've heard a few things, like you can just pull one from a junkyard, put an oil pump on it, slap a turbo kit, and it's 400 horsepower, no problem. Is that true?
Yep.
And like, what is
that's
what is a setup that you have that's tried and true that you've seen work over and over again?
So we'll give you the just one that popped up to my head, like Hertz, right?
Oh,
He has a K24 from, like, say, like a JDM Odyssey. Okay, you get this K24, you take the oil pan off, you're going to put a rear-wheel drive pan on it if you're going to, you know, put it in 240 or whatnot.
Right.
The oil pump, you're going to want to get an RSX oil pump at least, and maybe a timing gear if you want to get 50 degrees of advance out of it. But if it's turbocharged, you're typically okay with the 25-degree advance out of it, and at least put an RSX oil pump in it. But the recipe would be a $700 K-Series from, like, an importer, right, a K24, hopefully with, you know, the 3-lobe VTEC, and then a turbo kit, preferably an RTEC manifold, you know, a good G-Series Garrett turbo, just any plan that you could get on there, and then a good ECU, and you're off to the races. But those motors are stout. Like, they'll just, even with some crappy fuel, they'll still make, you know, big numbers. Give it some good fuel, and yeah, they're respectable. You know, they're Hondas make great engines. They just flow a ton of air.
Right. Well, I was about to ask, what is it about them? Is it like the head flow, or is it, you know, the certain crank that they use? Like, what is it exactly that allows it to do that?
That's all an engine ever is the ability to move airflow.
Correct.
So it, you know, an engine doesn't know what brand it is or you know, what size it is. It just, you know, it's the ability to move air in and out the cylinders. So how much volume this cylinder could pull in. So because of the, you know, the chamber change, you know, when the piston comes down, it's pulling air in times four cylinders. We're moving 2 liters of air, hopefully. But you know, you have superchargers and turbochargers that are compressing that air, but it's still the same 2 liters, if you will.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. I've always been always loved the K series, you know, and it's crazy how Honda will come out with the B series, and that obviously back in the day, and even still for some guys was like the holy grail. And then the K series came along, and it's just like, oh, okay. Yep. Honda did it again.
The S2000s are fun. The turbo S2000 is a lot of fun to tune. Surprisingly, don't open them up. Just give them like some ethanol, right, and a good turbo on them. They'll make like 700 horsepower, and they just sound amazing.
Dang.
They're just screaming. Yeah, just Honda heads in general. They're really good.
And so, okay, Andrew. All right. So here is the last question that we have for you this evening. All right. Where is Animal Auto headed next? What's next for the Animal Boys?
Man, hopefully happiness, man. Hopefully the guys are stoked with where they're at and the growth that we have. This year, we just have cool projects, along the way. Like tomorrow we have Mike Stanswork's car to come back in. And Haltech always has me on these cool projects. So I couldn't really tell you exactly what's going on for this next year, but it's going to definitely be interesting, to say the least. We're hoping to do more social media. Our website's up. We like to sell some ECUs and some sensors and all the things that we like to use. I see you guys have a great website too. By the way, your layout is killer.
Thank you.
I love everything about it.
Appreciate
so
that.
I could admire that stuff because it's a one-man team. It's me with a corporate job, and I also do this side job as well. So things move a little slow, but I'm hoping at the end of this year, like I said, my guys that work there, that's their full time. I'm hoping that they grow and that they're happy with where they're at, and every year they're making, more money, and obviously, the work-life balance. That's the biggest thing, a work-life balance.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're working Haltech, managing Animal, and I think you mentioned a family. Dang, dude.
Yeah, I'm okay though. I like working, man. I'm good. I'm up at 5 and I'm on it. I wouldn't do it any other way. But like I said, running a business has got ups and downs. It's a roller coaster, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm along for the ride. So, but I wouldn't want to stress anyone else out with what we have going on. But I'm thankful the team has been with us. We've been together for going on 6 years now. So our turnover rate is pretty small, and I'm thankful because it's really, really hard to find a good mechanic like Raul, right? He knows GTRs, he knows fuel setups, he knows ignition, he knows wiring. So, and Raul or Serge is a fabricator that's came so far. Like his skills are great. So the team is good. But yeah, like I said, we're small. We just have fun doing this stuff, man.
Man, that's cool to be able to have fun doing it and and still be growing and have your name getting put out there, because we're just like two dudes from Maine, and we've heard about Animal Auto for a while now. So that's coast to coast, dude. So you should be pretty proud of what you've built, for sure.
That makes me happy. I really appreciate to hear that.
Yeah, man. And again, thank you for hooking us up with some shirts. We rock our Animal Auto shirts. People around here are like, Animal Auto, what can you buy there?
Yeah, we'll send you some cool stuff. I need you guys to help me design some shirts because I love what you guys got going on. Seriously, it's killer. Everything. I need to get a dog bowl from you guys.
Hell yeah, man. we got you on that, and then we can definitely hook you up. We got a really cool guy that does an amazing job and is into cars as well. So it's cool to have this little community full of talented people to pull from, and everybody kind of respects each other. So we're down for that, man. And so you did mention the website. Hit us up. Let the listeners know where we can find Animal Auto on Instagram and on the web.
Yeah, so the best way to book a tune with me would be through my website, or to buy an ECU. Be www.animal-auto.com. Then the best way to reach me would be either DM on Instagram, or I don't really use Facebook, honestly. But the website would be the best way to get in touch with me. www.animal-auto.com.
Hell yeah, man. And we definitely appreciate you coming on, spending some time with us. Again, as you've described, I know you're mad busy, but making time for us definitely means a lot to us.
I'm looking forward to my first podcast I've ever done. So
hell yeah.
I'm honored.
Nice,
Thanks.
nice.
Yeah, thanks.
Heck yeah.
What's the plan with your 34 though? So let's not talk about me. What do you got going on? What can I help you with? Should I send you an ECU?
So right now my 34 is still just sitting in Chiba, Japan, because I have a December of 2000 car. So I won't see that until the end of this year. But
all right, cool. So
it will be coming into port right over there in California. So my plan is to do anything that I would like to do over there, because there's nothing over here. You know, it's not even worth me trying to work with somebody on the East Coast. No offense to any of the East Coast guys. I've just kind of been there, you know.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so when we get closer,
I got a broker that could pick it up. Yeah, I'll get a broker to pick it up for you if you need me to, and we'll just meet up out here. We'll make something happen.
Yeah, that sounds dope, man.
Yeah, the Port of Long Beach is like 45 minutes an hour from here, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, that's it. That's real good for you, for sure. That's a good location to be in.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew, we'll let you get back to it, but we do appreciate you being on, and we'll do this again, and hopefully live next time from your spot.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm always down to have you guys over here. I'm always down to check out your place too. So I got a ton of miles to kill.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, you come right out. We'll hook you up with the biggest lobster sandwich, man. You won't want lobster for years after we're done with you, man.
I'm in.
All right,
I'm
man.
in. But seriously, though, line up a car that you have that needs an ECU, and I'll come. So we're not just sitting around staring at each other. We'll put a car. We'll put an ECU.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. We appreciate that.
I'll see you guys.
All right. I like talking to these shops, dude.
Yeah, dude. Me too. You know, I love asking the technical questions. You know, get the real answers from the people that know.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's what's cool. And not to say we didn't expect when we started doing this podcast, but the knowledge that we gain is really cool. Talking to people, even Labette last week, getting knowledge about the perspective from a female. But these shops, it's like the questions you always wanted to ask.
Right.
It's like, so if you could tune one car for the rest of your life and that's it, okay, his answer was great because it was a kind of like custom car, right?
Yeah,
and so it was very unique to him. But I'm waiting for him to say like the RB26, and I'm like, yeah, that's the one. But it's just cool to hear their perspective, and then of course gain that knowledge and then make the connections, right? Like that's been really cool, forming relationships with guys like Andrew or Doug and Eric, and so yeah, we're gonna have to do a few more shops, I think.
Yeah, it's also cool hearing where they come from, hearing their past stories, and like he mentioned a shop that is no longer, but just hearing that popped up a memory in my head that's like stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool too, and just kind of like knowing of these people indirectly for however long, and then finally putting the pieces together and realizing, oh, they're still in it, they're still doing it. It's just something else or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and that really showed his roots, being involved in that so long ago. And that's what you find is that these guys that are really passionate about it and are doing really well have been in it. They didn't pop up shop, last week. They've been clawing at this for a long time. Definitely respect to those guys. Much love to Andrew for, taking some time out of his clearly busy schedule to make time for us. We always appreciate that. And make sure to hit him up on Instagram, Animal Auto. And you can always find us at RHDGUYS. But for episode 124 from Animal Auto, I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
See ya.
Peace.